To me, skins are something that you don't look at as a critical piece of equipment. They're awesome. They allow you to go uphill easy, but if you have a skin malfunction, it can ruin your day in a hurry.
Yeah, no doubt there. For starters, having really good skin maintenance is super important. When I do a lot of transitions, I want to be sure that when I'm taking my skins on and off, I'm not fouling them and letting them snow get into them at all. In fact, sometimes, especially with these early rise tips, they get a little snow on the tip.
Yeah.
And when I take them off, I'm actually scraping it off for when I store it.
Yeah.
So I want them to stick when we transition.
And I think along those lines, when you put the skin on the ski, make sure there's no snow,
snow
on the
or
base.
even moisture on the base of the ski.
Yeah, I don't
Well,
like to get them too hot. Even in a hut, I'll just throw them right in the basket so they can get some air, but
Yeah,
not
right.
even heat so much.
Exactly.
Ambient air.
You know.
And I think there's the obvious things. Don't drop them in the pine needles or the dirt or get
Right.
dog hair on them, because that'll all affect the glue.
Right.
If you do drop it in the snow, that's not great, but you can rub that on your pant and get rid of it. And
Edge of the
that's a
ski
short-term
works well.
issue.
Yeah,
No,
Whereas if you get dog hair, dirt, or whatever, that's going to ruin the skin for.
permanently fouled.
Yeah.
What about the backing? You know, the skins
the
come with that
cheat sheet.
backing. I know for me, if I'm touring on a day-to-day basis, I don't tend to put those on because it's just a pain in the neck. But I definitely like them for longer-term storage. Well, you know, like a week or beyond.
Yeah,
you know?
seasonal storage for me, and I don't like to deal with them otherwise. I've heard some people like to use them when the glue's super new, just because it makes it a little easier to separate. But
Right.
personally, I've found other ways to deal with that as well.
And that depends too on the skin and the skin manufacturer, because all the glue's different, and some of them are really hard to pull apart and others aren't. But I agree. I wouldn't recommend using those when you're out in the field, but for storage,
Yeah.
sure.
A lot of times, if you're noticing through the day that the skin is getting progressively icier, I'll ski down with them in my jacket so you can
Warm 'em
actually warm them up, thaw them out a little bit. You know, you can just tuck them in the top. Then you don't even have to take your pack off for the transition. Whip your ski off, put them back on, but that can really thaw out an iced up skin pretty well. As Rob Hess once said, there's a lot of different ways to skin a skin. Personally, I tend to just go about 50-50. That works for me pretty well. I leave the tip a little bit exposed so that when I pull it off for a transition, I can hook that tip and I just start the first, 30 centimeters, just get it on there, nice clean ski, get a little adhesion, and I go straight to my hip and try and get nice and straight, pull tension, stretch the skin, because they inevitably get a little moist and stretch more, but then I've got a little tension already and it's nice and centered.
A friend of mine showed me a great way to fold skins when it's really windy out, because you've got 6 feet of fly paper here in the wind. It's sticking to itself, it's sticking all over you. So if you can control that, it makes it a lot easier. First thing I do always now is turn my binding so that the brake comes down, because I've seen people drop their ski and then the ski goes away. So put the brake on. But I'll pull from the base first, halfway, and then I'll pull it right to the tip. And you need to put the tail of the ski in the snow to do this. And that way I've got the midpoint of the skin. I pull that back up to the tip, and you can see I've never let go of the skin. It's never flapping in the wind. Lay it down right on top of the skin and then just pull it up. And it's a great simple fold, and I just leave them that way. I don't know, what do you do?
Well, I use a variety of techniques like you guys. It's sort of, for me, it's not, which do I prefer. I just use a variety depending on the situation, and that's a great technique. One I use and sometimes show people that maybe are a little bit shorter and having a little more difficulty putting the ski out like that is doing the thirding. I'll start from the tail, okay, and I'll pop it in, all right, and I go up, somewhere about halfway, or so, and then I take this section right here and I come back on itself like that, okay? And this can work in the wind too.
Yeah.
For a shorter person, sometimes this can be advantageous. And then bring it up like this, okay? And then bring it in like so. So I always have hold of it, and I don't have, like you said, the big long fly paper flapping around, And sometimes if they're super sticky, this can be a nice technique, only because for the smaller individual, when they go to put them on, they don't have to pull quite so much. They can pull one section right there, get it on there, and then they can work further sections off of it like that right here and get it on like that. So that's one technique I'll often use and show folks like that.
Yeah.
So
I think one of the most common failures people will have with skins is in the springtime, when you got wet, saturated snow and the skin gets soaking wet, and then you go around the corner into the north-facing slopes, that skin will clump up with snow. Put some preventative wax on there, rub wax on before you go out, because once they get wet, it's really tough to dry them out in the field. So you're kind of SOL then.
I have this little side pocket in my pack right there, and that's a great
Yeah.
spot where I keep the
Scraper,
glob stopper
wax.
and
Yeah.
the scraper, because scraping those skins. Have you ever used the technique where friends are icing up and you turn your skis on side and have them skin over your
the skis?
Oh.
yeah,
Right,
to
it's like the big scraper. Like
Like
so.
the big
If you don't have a
scraper.
yeah.
You got to kind of have a nice flat spot, because if it's on a hill, it doesn't work very well.
Right.
But that's a technique for doing
Yeah.
it.
What do you guys carry in your repair kit if you lose a tip?
Black Diamond has those tips where you can screw it through the
Right.
skin. So
Yeah.
I'll keep one of those.
I used to use a little piece of accessory cord, can
Mhm.
simulate that
That could
loop
work
really
too well,
Yeah,
too.
a lot of different things will work for it.
Yeah.
So have a plan.
So there's a lot of things to think about with skins, but good maintenance habits and having a little backup plan with some bits and bobs to fix problems will go a long way.